Thank you so much, Baker, for a wonderful presentation. And thank you, everybody, for coming to this session. So I'm going to switch a gear to talk a little bit more abstract matter, which is what's social about social sustainability of local food system. Unlike economists, sociologists often do not have a very quantified data set to work with. So the three key points I like to make, I'm not sure I'm using this right. One is social sustainability as a concept and empirical phenomena requires more attention. And this is something that even this morning, Rob was talking about it as we opened this conference. Second point I like to make is studies on the social impact of local food system tend to skew on certain types of relationships and excluding others. And the third point I like to make is community development and resiliency aspect of local food systems. And then Becca even mentioned toward the end of her presentation, in both the rural and the urban area need to be further studied. Okay, so the first point I want to make is there is a certain assumptions built into this discourse of sustainability, agricultural sustainability. And the assumption goes like this, and this is something I heard from listening to Deputy Secretary's presentation this morning. The first and the foremost, there must be economic sustainability. In other words, farms have to be profitable. Before the farmers can invest in environmental, ecological sustainability, and then voila, somehow, communities, at the community level, that social sustainability could take place. But it's a question mark. Because what's good, I mean, the whole assumption is what's good for economy is good for the entire society. As we all know, that's not really true, right? And then, so there may be some kind of association, interactional effect, but that needs to be further empirically studied. So we have to ask ourselves, in what way does the increased profitability of farmers socially benefit those communities where these farmers reside or farmers sell their product to? And then I like to suggest us to go back to what Tom Ryson, who passed away several years ago, wrote in his famous book on the civic agriculture. So we have to ask what makes local food system what Tom Ryson calls civic agriculture. He says civic agriculture, right? And by that he meant strengthening the agriculture and the food system that strengthen community identities and improve the community capacity to solve problems. So we're moving way beyond the domain of agricultural production to talk about what constitutes civic agriculture. So what is local from the sociologist point of view? It's all about social relationship. So when we talk about social sustainability, it's about the social relations. And so in that context, what we consider as a local is way beyond geospatial relationship. It's about the relational space to think about what means by local. So face-to-food interactions, trusting relationship, and it could be direct marketing, like a farmer to consumer, to intermediate, which I would consider as a triad type of a relationship, or a small group interaction. Those are more or less, the consumers know where their food comes from. That's the expression often we hear from. When I look at the existing literature, and I asked several colleagues in this room for suggested readings to put together this presentation, I found that this meaning of social to be found, I found this meaning of the social to be sustained is very elusive. You can find social sustainability, the paper about the social sustainability or social, everywhere in the literature. On the other hand, because of differences in the scale of analysis, scope of analysis, and the focus of analysis, it makes it extremely difficult to sort out what are indirect and direct social impact of a local food system. It's very different from the way agricultural economics work. Sociologists are kind of like all over the map because we can study just about anything and everything, and we can use just about everything as a data point. So that's to give you an example from a scale of analysis. We can find within the existing literature something deal with the global issues. For example, looking at the fair trade, food sovereignty, to very go down to the individual level of looking at the consumer's motivation, farmers' motivation to participate in the local food economy, and how their behaviors change from participating in it to turning it into political eaters and so forth. So what do we already know? Or at least what did I found out from reading those literature? At the individual and household level, one of the areas is often done by a social scientist, non-economic social scientists, is that non-economic motivation drive both farmers and the consumers to participate in a local food system. So it is beyond economic benefit. It's beyond the profitability that is valued as being part of this space called local food system. They're seeking embedded relationship. That's the concept continuously coming raised in this literature. And the second area is behavioral change. Participation in local food systems affect the farmers and consumers' behavior, not only as market actors, but also as citizens. In other words, they can become more politically conscious or aware to engage in the community and so forth. So there's a deepening of knowledge. And the consumption of fresh produce increase and thereby improving health outcomes. Those are the studies often done by dietetics, dietitians, and food scientists who are looking at the connection between the fresh fruit, fresh produce consumption and health outcome. At the community level, also this health outcome is an important point because the rising cost of healthcare is a huge challenge of many communities, especially rural areas. And so they are looking at how the participation into local food economy and the improved consumption of fresh produce impact at the community level its own positive health outcome of its residents. And then in entrepreneurship and the capacity building. Local food system development is built upon small business entrepreneurship development and thereby key to community capacity building. So the Food Health Research, Food Policy Council, Research on the Food Policy Council, they all look at how those kind of vehicles, institution become vehicle to building actual urban or rural communities' capacity in solving the problems. At the conceptual level, there's a lot of ideas been discussed to talk about part of social sustainability, including food security, democracy, food sovereignty, health, social justice, self-determination, social equity, diversity, inclusion, community capacity building, and community resilience, to just name a few. And Helix and Charles in 2012 pointed out beautifully that they said local market in themselves provide no automatic guarantee that vulnerable workers will experience enhanced welfare. In other words, local economy does not necessarily benefit everyone and in the same way or not all. So challenge we face those of us who study social sustainability. First is the volume on the study of social sustainability is relatively small compared with other dimensions. And from that handout you received at the conference registration, that booklet, I used that to actually create this pie chart to see how much actually number of grants get funded. I mean, granted, there are multiple ways of counting the number of grants and then also the amount of money granted. This is what I came up with based on the information given yesterday by the SARE. In terms of number grants, so-called project that concerning people in the one page, that's about 9% of the entire number of grants being funded by SARE between 1988 and 2000, oh, I'm sorry, 2000, cut off. I think it was 2016 or 17. And amount of money compared to everything else is a $33.6 million is invested on the project that primarily focus on people. So this tells us something, right? So we shared this morning the SARE received more funding. So I really hope that there would be more money funded to look into what does it mean by social sustainability and what's the social we want to sustain. Challenge 2, concerning future of farming, not necessarily agriculture. Even if local food systems are profitable for farmers, who are going to farm? And this is the keep coming back, this question of we need to have new generation of farmers coming in, right? So how does vibrancy of a local food system make agriculture and farming as an attractive career path? And many of us work in the universities and the colleges, and we do have students who want to be farmers, but a very few programs actually teach those college students how to farm and how to run farm effectively. And how does it help new farmer access land? And this is the point that was a question came from the audience this morning as well. This whole issue of access to land is very important. Now, just about 10 days ago, in the New Food Economy, there was an article published. The title goes, sorry, pretty much everyone, young farmers are the least diverse and smallest group of farmers in the country. And that article goes on to show the so-called young farmers are quite limited to white male, right? Do you remember that reading that? Right? Third is issues of food benefit from local food economy. Who are excluded and alienated from local food system because not everybody willingly and embrace the whole idea of local food economy. Even if they wanted to, there are many people who can't for some reason or another. So how about the rural consumers? We always talk about urban consumers, middle class consumers, right? How about the non-local food system participating farmers in the rural area? How about non-local food system participating consumer in the urban area? Farm laborers, urban poor, minority farmers. Those people group may be excluded or feeling alienated. How do we make the local food system be more inclusive? And then another set is the one-way multiplier effect of local food systems in urban community to in fact contribute to addressing racial ethnic divide in health status, food insecurity, and land access. Those are real challenges that people face. And I think we cannot ignore, if we really truly believe that sustainable agriculture is important for the future of farming. So how to measuring the social sustainability? My point is the community development aspect of a local food system in both rural and urban areas need to be further studied, particularly the impact on diversity and inclusion of agri-food citizens, social justice of agri-food production, capacity building, maintenance in these communities and neighborhood. And I'm sorry I eliminated the slide which talked about the interesting index that our colleague, John Green from University of Mississippi, I believe, is working on called Sustainability Resiliency Index. And he's trying to put together the index that can actually look at the county level whether the particular community is has a degree of community resilience and so forth. And so there are people who are working on this area quite a bit. So I'm going to propose a set of recommendations for the next 30 years of sustainable agriculture. One is there needs to be more systematic evaluation of the SARE funded project to understand what we already know about social sustainability. Like I said, social sustainability is very elusive. Everybody thinks they know what we're talking about, but I don't think actually we do. So we need to take a look at what is that has been done and what I already know. And then both the social relationships at the individual level and the community capacity building portion of it. And so need more concerted effort by non-economic social scientists. I'm sorry, Becca, but not the economists, but other social scientists, to really have it engage in a conversation. What do we mean by it? What we have done? How can we collaborate more? And in fact, the last year, thanks to Wesley Dean, we studied that conversation at the Rural Sociological Society meeting. So if you want to participate in that kind of conversation, please come to the RSS meeting. It's a great place to do so. Second is a more project that specifically investigate various aspects of social sustainability need to be funded. Like I said, 9% of the number of the grants are on the people, according to the SARE, according to the data they released, not my data. And economic sustainability should not be treated as either proxy or prerequisite of social sustainability. And we have to have a handle on this. Third is the SARE may expand the scope of sustainable agriculture to include vital non-farm production activities that farmers participate to build local food system. I do research in Japan, and particularly looking at the beginning farmers or new entry farmers. And one of the biggest challenges for those farmers is how much duties they have to perform in their community. And that takes up so much time and energy away, including, for example, volunteer firefighting. Okay? So those kind of things are important part of building trust in the community for those farmers. And it matters. So collaboration, learning, trust building over community work, leadership development, and problem solving at the community level by farmers and the rural residents, and also the different way the network building takes place, and particularly to increase the density and the depth of the networks they participate in. Those are the kind of things that I think need to be looked upon. So that's all I have, and then those are the references I used, and then I'm hoping that PowerPoint will become available to everybody, and so if you're interested further about this type of work I mentioned, you can look it up. And I'd like to thank Claire Henricks from Penn State, Mary Hendrickson from Missouri, Doug Constance from Sam Houston State University, Jessica Goldberg from Washington State, and Spencer Wood from Kansas State, and Wesley Dean from USDA for preparing this presentation. Their support was very important for me to put together this. Thank you so much. But the view expressed here are all mine, so don't blame them. Thank you.